Hello folks, Reloading Bench back with you once again, and you have seen this case before, but that's not what this video is about. So when I go to the range, and if I take a pew-pew or two, and in this case I can have up to 5, I'll take a pew-pew or two to the range. I will then use these locks, if I can get it out with my fatty fingers. The other one's in here somewhere. I've done videos on the locks too. I will secure my pew-pew in this case, and I will lock it with 2 locks. So I am abiding by the transport laws of my state, and obviously the pew-pew will be in an unloaded fashion. So no bullets, no bullets. It will have the magazine in this case, and it will have the pew-pew in this case. And it will be in the back of a vehicle, a trunk. So this case will be locked, and the trunk is a locking mechanism. So I've heard lots of debates over the years on, what is legal and what is not in terms of transport. And that brings me to this device. So if I were to open this up and put a pew-pew, let's say this pew-pew, in the case, and for all of this is an unloaded pew-pew, magazine is unloaded. So to carry this like this, in this fashion, in this case, to lock it, change the combination, all that good stuff, is the equivalent, and then put it in the trunk, is the equivalent of the case I just showed you. So in these crazy times, and I've had this debate with folks over the years, and people have come at me with different perspectives of, I know the law says the penal code is written as blah, blah, blah. I have a police officer friend who says, all that kind of stuff. So let me put that out there for the debate. Thought I locked myself out. For the debate on this, because instead of having this pew-pew in the trunk, if I had it just like this, locked on the passenger seat in my car, is that legal? I say yes, it is. Probably have to blank that out because I don't think I can show that. With an empty magazine. To me, this would be the same as a wheel gun, a cylinder gun, because you can't take the cylinder out. You can open the gun and expose the cylinder to load it, but you can't remove the cylinder. Well, technically you can, but you know where I'm going with. You can't effectively transport a wheel gun in pieces. Then again, you can, but for all practical purposes, you're going to transport a wheel gun like this, and you're going to go to the range. So let's take it a step further. Let's say we have said pew-pew, and I think I have some 9mm. Real bullet. Let's say that this magazine was completely loaded. All 10 rounds. So we now have a loaded magazine, nothing in the chamber, in a locked box, either in the trunk or in the passenger seat next to me driving. Is this legal? And in my state, I would say no, it is not legal. This would be bad news if a police officer pulled you over and for whatever reason had to get to this level and then discovered you were essentially carrying a loaded gun. Everybody defines a loaded gun a little bit differently. Some will say it's not loaded unless there's one in the chamber. I will call this, for practical purposes, a loaded gun. So if this magazine was in this gun, as you just saw, that is a no-no for transport in a vehicle, whether that's in your trunk or in your passenger side. Now let's take it a step further, because this is the one I'm really focused on and want to hear back from folks. Same pew-pew, again, unloaded. Same pew-pew. In the case. Fully loaded magazine. Maybe even 2 magazines. Magazine not in said pew-pew. Magazine next to pew-pew would be the equivalent of having a bag of bullets next to a wheel gun. They're not in the gun. They're in the case. In the trunk. Is that legal? I'm going to say yes. Next to me, in the passenger side, locked, unloaded, magazine with bullets in it, gun. Is that legal for transport? I'm going to say yes. I believe it is. So, let's say that you were at you came up to a stop sign, and all of a sudden some bad guys pulled up beside you, and you thought, oh my God, it's going to get hot. So pulling this out like this in a legal configuration, if you felt your life was in danger, would that be legal to potentially defend yourself? If you thought your life was in danger. And I'm going to say I think that is. Again, unloaded, legal carry, transport. Carry's not the right word. Transport is the correct word, because this is not a CCW conversation. So there is no carry. There is transport. So you could walk around. In theory and in reality, if you walked around with this in your backpack, locked, I believe that would be legal. If you walked around with this, with a magazine in the same container, not in the pew-pew, walked around with that, legal. In your backpack, legal. Just like I believe, please share in the comments, would this be legal? Transport in your vehicle next to you on the passenger side. Again, not loaded, but loaded magazine in the same locked container. Keyword there, locked container. So you couldn't just reach over and flick this like I'm doing. You would have to work the combination and then open it. Then you would have to take the pew-pew out, and you would have to load said pew-pew, pulling slide back and being ready in a life-threatening situation. So the question again, is that legal transport? And I believe the answer is yes. Let me know in the comments. What do you think?